This video was intended to inform and educate the public.
Welcome once again to this episode of the Junkyard News. Thanks for tuning in.
A former Lee County deputy arrested after he's accused of taking money from people who he pulled over.
Now, we all have heard the term road pirate in regards to traffic stops, but in this episode, we're going to detail one particular officer who decided to take that to a whole new meaning. I mean, it's bad enough to pull people over for minor traffic offenses just to bolster possible illegal quotas and to fulfill instructions by your superiors to generate revenue for the communities that they work for by issuing tickets. But when an officer decides to also pad his pocket and steal from the public while conducting these traffic stops, you start to get the feeling that this is no longer the United States of America and more like a third world country.
Oh yeah, give me something. Oh yeah, give me something. Give me something.
You give me something.
Yeah. Give me money. Money.
Money. Why?
Give me.
Why?
And how did this officer decide to pad his own pocket? He targeted minorities and people who may have a language barrier in hopes that what he was doing would not get reported. But it finally caught up to him as complaints started piling in, causing the department to go through hundreds of hours of body cam footage to try to see if there was any merit to all the complaints that started flooding in.
Sheriff's office says that the former deputy did this to several drivers in January. He's accused of taking money from purses and wallets during these traffic stops.
The sheriff's office says most of the traffic stops happened here along State Road 82. After the complaints of misconduct and fraud came in January, LCSO says Tyrese Jackson was put on administrative leave. We confirmed this is a picture of Jackson while on the job.
This officer would conduct these traffic stops, and upon doing searches, people started complaining that they were missing cash out of their wallets and out of the purses. That's right. He was literally picking the pockets of people he target on traffic stops. Now, when a police officer engages in theft of money from people's wallets and purses during traffic stops, it represents a profound betrayal of the public trust. Law enforcement officers are supposed to be sworn to protect and serve their communities, and such criminal behavior undermines the very foundation of that relationship. Citizens rely on the integrity and honesty of their police, and when that trust is violated, it creates a ripple effect of suspicion and fear, making people wary of those who are supposed to ensure their safety in the community. This act of corruption not only damages the reputation of the individual officer himself or herself, but also tarnishes the entire profession. It casts a shadow over many law enforcement officers who actually want to do a good job and help their community.
The sheriff's office says they combed through hours of body-worn camera to find evidence of the interactions. And at times, they noticed Jackson would manipulate it so he wasn't recorded in the act. Also, in the video evidence, they noticed his targets were consistent. Documents say they were Hispanics with little to no identification and language barriers. They believe this is because Jackson felt they were less likely to report him.
When officers engage in road piracy, it shatters the community's faith in the legal system. It is eroded, and it becomes a significant challenge to restore confidence and repair the damaged relationship between law enforcement and the public. This erosion of trust can lead to decreased cooperation, increased tensions, and a general sense of insecurity within the community. With countless news stories showing officers not doing their job correctly, betraying the public trust, and violating their oaths, it's no wonder that support for police in the United States is at an all-time low. And there are several reasons, interconnected factors, that have contributed to widespread public distrust and dissatisfaction with LEOs and law enforcement. Numerous high-profile cases of police brutality, particularly involving minorities, have sparked outrage and protests across the country. many communities feel targeted and unfairly treated by police, exasperating tensions and diminishing support for law enforcement across the country. And overall, there seems to be a lack of accountability and transparency within law enforcement. The perceived and real lack of accountability and transparency in addressing police misconduct have further strained relationships between law enforcement and the general public.
Jackson did all of this at times while training other younger deputies. Those deputies were interviewed during the course of the investigation, but they did not see anything, and they only praised the former deputy's work.
Oh, there's a big surprise!
LCSO says he was placed on leave in January, and then he resigned in February and moved to Maryland. They actually had to have him extradited back here to Lee County. He's now facing charges of misconduct and also defrauding.
Talk about being a road pirate. Detectives say Jackson would pull people over with the intent to deprive them of money, feeling they would not report him. Now, the arrest warrant claims Jackson took money out of people's wallets and purses during traffic stops. The sheriff's office also claims that the deputy manipulated his body-worn camera during these times to prevent certain events from being recorded. The victims in the videos were contacted to get their statements, furthering the investigators' belief that criminal activity was suspected by this deputy. Now, back on February 8th, Jackson resigned from the sheriff's office and moved to Maryland. He had been with the sheriff's office before his resignation since July of 2022. During his tenure with the Lee County Sheriff's Office, former Deputy Jackson showed a pattern of abuse of power, misuse of agency time and policy, and preyed on those he targeted, believing they would not report his criminal activity. He was arrested on 2 counts of official misconduct and 1 count of a scheme to defraud, all felonies. Now, of course, the Lee County Sheriff's Office came out and says it disgusted them when one of the people that they considered a family member, a Blue Line family member, betrayed the trust of the great residents of Lee County and tarnished the badge. The sheriff stated that Jackson will be held accountable for his actions, and the Lee County Sheriff's Office will continue to provide a concierge level of service. Now, at the time that the arrest warrant was actually issued, as stated before, Jackson had already moved out of state to Maryland. But once the arrest warrant was issued, they actually went after him in Maryland and had him extradited back to Florida. Now, the warrant does claim that Jackson was a field training officer. Online records show that Jackson had also been featured on the show On Patrol, formerly known as Live PD. So here you have another officer who decided to pad his pocket at the expense of the community.
Give me money.
Money.
And even manipulated his body-worn camera to try to hide his illegal activities. Again, you would think this type of thing wouldn't happen in the United States. Wouldn't happen in the United States. Our cops are honorable. Thank you again for watching this episode of The Junkyard News. Videos uploaded by The Junkyard News are helped in part by viewers just like you. You can show your support for this channel by clicking the thumbs up, sharing our videos, or hitting that all-important support button on our channel page. Don't want to miss a video or a story? Make sure to check us out and like us on Facebook at The Junkyard News.